All right, we're in chapter 7, section 6. I'm going to redo paragraph 8, in which Jesus, the narrator, tells us, I have repeatedly emphasized that the ego does believe it can attack God and tries to persuade you that you have done this, If the mind cannot attack, the ego proceeds perfectly logically to the belief that you must be a body. So somehow your body must have attacked the infinite all that is, yes? By not seeing as you are, it says, it can see itself as it wants to be. Aware of its weakness, the ego wants your allegiance, but not as you really are. The ego therefore wants to engage your mind in its own delusional system, because otherwise the light that you hold within you, the light of your understanding, would dispel it. All right, would dispel the ego's delusional system. So the ego keeps you trapped in its ideas of what is and keeps you pulled away from the state of being in which you are the light, in which you are the understanding, in which you know the truth. All right, that's its job. That's what it does. Keep your mind occupied. All right. And as we go on in the paragraph, it wants no part of truth because the ego itself is not true. If truth and in this paragraph are capitalized, no part of truth, capital T, if truth, capital T, is total, the untrue cannot exist. If truth is total, nothing else exists. So nothing that we would ever worry about, nothing we would ever be afraid of, nothing we could ever imagine might be a problem, cannot exist. Wow. Then it says, commitment to either must be total. You have to be committed to the truth or committed to the ego's delusional system. And that's the battle that many of us face. And sometimes they say that our headaches are the result of that conflict. Am I going with truth, capital T, which must be total, or am I going to go with what the evidence of my senses through the ego is telling me? And basically, that's the ego's delusional system. All right? If they cannot coexist in peace, and if you want peace, you must give up the idea of conflict entirely and for all time. This requires vigilance only as long as you do not recognize what is true. So when a situation appears to involve suffering, there becomes a conflict. What is true? What is not true? If I always choose truth, then the suffering goes and the conflict is over. While you believe that two totally contradictory thought systems share truth, your need for vigilance is apparent, right? You have to remember, oh no, not that set of ideas. Those are not what I'm choosing anymore. This set of ideas, this is what I'm choosing now. Okay. So it's saying this in the present tense because it's describing to people back in the 60s, but to some extent we have this still an issue. And if you would like to transform this to a past tense, I'm cool with that. But it says right now, your mind is dividing its allegiance between two kingdoms, and you are totally committed to neither, right? If you're going back and forth, you haven't committed. Your identification with the kingdom is totally beyond question, except by you, when you are thinking insanely, when you are going, what's true? I don't know. The delusions or the truth? That does sound pretty insane, doesn't it? What you are is not established by your perception and is not influenced by it at all. So what your senses are telling you has nothing to do with who and what you are. Perceived problems and identification at any level are not problems of fact. They are problems of understanding, since their presence implies a belief that what you are is up to you to decide. Oh, who am I? Oh, I think I'll be an astronaut. No. That's not who we are, is it? Oh, I am a mother. No, honey, that's our role. That's not who we are. Who am I? I'm a seeker. No, you don't get to choose that either. Who am I? We are the light. We are an aspect of the all that is. We are the source made manifest in this moment, in this way, in this form. Right? So, the ego believes this, that you get to decide who you and what you are, totally, being fully committed to it. It is not true. The ego is therefore totally committed to untruth, perceiving in total contradiction to the Holy Spirit's voice, the voice of God, and to the knowledge, the wisdom of God. You can be perceived with meaning, that is, in a way that is in alignment with knowledge, only by the Holy Spirit, because your being is the knowledge of God. Our being, our true being, not this perceived form, not the stuff. Our true being is the knowledge of the source of all that is. Our true being is what we call wisdom, is what we call intelligence, is what we call truth. That's who and what we are. Yeah. Any belief you accept apart from this will obscure God's voice in you and will therefore obscure God to you. God's voice is the Holy Spirit. So you can't hear Spirit's voice because you're thinking about all this other stuff. And that's normal. That's part of being in the body. You know you're doing it because you're in a body. It kind of goes with it. Unless you perceive God's creation, his creation, the creation, truly, you cannot know the Creator, since God and his creation are not separate. So all that is really created is an extension of what God is. That's all. I'm an extension of what God is, the created aspect of me, not the projections of my ego. All right. God and his creation are not separate. The oneness of the Creator with the creation is your wholeness, your sanity, and your limitless power. I told the story of Babaji and choosing not to be in the body when we were talking about lesson 188. He chose to stay when he could be either way, in the body or not in the body, because he knows, he doesn't have any sense of separation. He takes on form, he drops form, he takes on this form, he goes somewhere else, he manifests in this location, he manifests in that location. He is spirit being using a body for useful things. I think it's fascinating. All right. This limitless power is God's gift to you because it is what you are. God's gift is the extension of God's self. Therefore, whatever God is what we are. Limitless power. If you dissociate your mind from it, you're perceiving the most powerful force in the universe as if it were weak, because you do not believe you are part of it. All right. And we live in a culture that says, oh, pray if you might, but this is what really has power. This medicine, this treatment, this has the power. But, if you need to pray, go ahead and pray. Except Larry Dossey and others have been showing us over and over again that, true prayer, positive regard in the direction of wherever we choose to send it, often overcomes and reverses the things that the powerful medical system or other systems might want to limit us with. All right, so continuing. Oh dear, went a little too far. All right, in that same paragraph, the limitless power is God's gift for you. If you dissociate yourself from it, you are perceiving the most powerful force in the universe as if it were weak. Pay attention to that. And there's actually, as often happens, the pun is intended for those of you who are aware of the weak force and the strong force and all of that. We're perceiving the most powerful force in the universe, that which keeps atoms together, as if it were weak. Part of our modern science. All right, next paragraph. Perceived without your part in it. And by perception, absolutely. We're not going to see our part in the creation around us. So perceived without your part in it, God's creation is seen as weak, and those who see themselves as weakened do attack. The attack must be blind, however, because there's nothing to attack. So it's like, right? A little kid or a small person trying to beat something it can't even see, right? Therefore, they make up images, perceive them as unworthy, and then attack them for their unworthiness. So we decide that something is dreadful and we attack it. And that is all the world of the ego is. That's it. Images made up, considered unworthy to be attacked. And the media keeps us trapped in that. Okay? That is all the world of the ego is. Images perceived as unworthy and attacked. And then it says, that's all the world is? Nothing. It has no meaning. It does not exist. As Emma says, we laugh at it. Ha 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 ha. It is nothing. Do not try to understand the world of the ego, because if you do, you're believing that it can be understood and is therefore capable of being appreciated and loved. That would justify its existence, which cannot be justified. You cannot make the meaningless meaningful. This can only be an insane attempt. And remember that word insane has very great power with the people this was channeled to. All right, next sentence, next paragraph. Allowing insanity to enter your mind means that you have not judged sanity as wholly desirable. And what would sanity be? Choosing the truth, accepting the truth, regardless of the appearances. All right. If you want something else, you will make something else. Right? We don't create, we make. But because it is something else other than your existing thought system, it will attack your thought system and divide your allegiance. You cannot create in this divided state, and you must be vigilant against this divided state, because only peace can be extended. When the great avatars of the world go into the silence, when they meditate, they're choosing peace instead of the appearances. They're choosing not to make up a different way of looking at the world. They're simply saying, I choose the reality. I'm going into the silence, into the stillness, into the light, choosing the reality rather than setting up another thought system. Yeah? Only peace can be extended. Only the qualities of the divine can be extended. Then it says, your divided mind is blocking the extension of the kingdom, and its extension is your joy. God's joy is extending into the creation. Our joy is to continue the creative process, because guess what? We are the same stuff. We are the same mind, the same substance, the same being. So whatever is God's joy is our God, our joy, and our God. True. If you do not extend the kingdom, you're not thinking with your Creator and creating as He created. Next paragraph. In this depressing state, the Holy Spirit reminds you gently that you are sad because you are not fulfilling your function as co-creator with God. Oop, there's our function again. Salvation, forgiveness, co-creation. Now this is where that word came into public use, co-creator. And it's scary to some of us, because it suggests God's over there creating and I'm over here creating, and sometimes we get together and we create together. That's not what it means. That you are an extension of the creative process, creating in and as and through God. That's who and what you are. So you are creating, you are expanding the creation, God's creation, because that is who and what you are. So don't get hung up on that co-creator word, all right? However, you're not fulfilling your function as a creator, therefore are depriving yourself of joy. So if you are feeling anything other than joy, it's because you've been caught up in the delusional system, the ego's delusional system. You've given it reality. You've chosen it instead of choosing to be the peace, to be the truth, to be the knowledge, and to extend that. Extend that, and in extending that, we are creating. Now, what does it mean to extend that? Remember, if you go back to lesson 188, you will see, or when you go to lesson 188, you'll get an illustration of that. It's a meditation that I use, a guided process that I use. That's a marvelous way to extend the kingdom and to extend creation. Next paragraph, in this depressing state, the Holy Spirit reminds you gently that you are sad, right? That's where we were, so you're not fulfilling your function, and are therefore depriving. Next sentence in that paragraph, this is not God's choice, but yours. And this is another way to help you understand in 187, 188, sacrifice isn't possible. There is no way you can experience anything other than joy if you are being your true self and extending, fulfilling your function, okay? If your mind could be out of accord with God's, you'd be willing without meaning. Yet because God's will is unchangeable, no conflict of will is possible. So will is an aspect, a quality of divine, and it cannot be separate. We can't have ego's will and God's will. No, there's ego's wishes, ego's desires, ego's expression of need, but no, there's only one will. All right. So, nothing that opposes this. Okay, we'll back up. This is the Holy Spirit's perfectly consistent teaching. Creation, not separation, is your will because it is God, and nothing that opposes this means anything at all. Creation is extending more of the love. It's not distinguishing. It's not saying this is different. It's not saying they're them and this is me. It's extending the love that self is and sharing, experiencing it as one with all other love. Not just sharing, experiencing it as one with all other love. All right? Nothing that opposes this means anything at all. Being a perfect accomplishment, the sonship, that is us, individually and collectively, can only accomplish perfectly, extending the joy in which it was creating, and identifying itself with both its creator and its creations. All right? So whatever we are extending as, the love, the life, the beauty, is also the creator. Our extension is the same stuff, the same substance, the same spirit as the source through which we were extended and as which we are extended. All right? Extending the joy in which it was created, identifying itself with both its creator and its creations, knowing they are one. And so ends section 6. Thanks very much.